Good morning, Houston. You are watching KHOU 11 Plus. Good to have you with us. I'm Stephanie Simmons, and right now we are just weeks away from kids throwing their papers in the air and yelling, "School's out for the summer." We love this time of the year. One of the most exciting times of summer break is summer camp, and there are so many options to choose from, but spots are filling up fast. So we went straight to parenting expert Megan Clanahan to break down the best camps in town. Whether it's studying STEM for science or studying the stem of a flower, there are so many camps to choose from here in Houston. But first, you need to plan as a family.
Look for something that works for your schedule. So especially if you're in the situation where you need to have like an early morning drop off and maybe a late pickup, there are camps that offer like before and after care.
Megan Clanahan with Houston Moms is a pro when it comes to finding the best summer camps for kids of all ages and interests, and the top choices in Harris County.
I specifically love Kid Venture. It has been around in this area for 50 years. And they have camps all around in Westview, Memorial area. And they're gonna hit about 5 of those sections. They have day camps and overnight camp. I also love Houston Botanic Camp. So, or if you're down more in the kind of southeast Harris County area, the botany camps that they're offering out there for the past couple of years are awesome. If you have kids that love science, but they also love to watch things grow, that's going to be a really fun camp for them. Rice University offers a ton of camps. Everything from STEM to educational and specific into like a space exploration. They also have a bunch of athletic camps.
What about trends for this year as far as what families are going for that they want to get their kids signed up for?
We continually see families that are looking for STEM and for coding camps.
Such a variety of camps in Houston, but it all comes down to your budget.
The pricing that I'm seeing right now is somewhere in the $179 to $280 range for a week. Obviously, overnight camps change. You're probably looking at closer to $1,500 to $1,800 for a week.
If you have the funds for summer fun, your kids can learn, laugh, and perhaps grow a love of something new. All right, a lot of good options there. This is a big talker, we know, for a lot of you out there, and a lot of you have already reached out to us with questions. So Megan Clanahan with Houston Moms is with us today. We appreciate you being here live because you have such great insight. And you know what? We've already received a question since we've been on for just a few minutes. So, all right, the first question is, are camps full for 2024 already?
They are not full. There are some that are full. You have your most popular camps that fill up in like February and March, which sounds crazy. So you'll know better for next year, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that.
Yes, we sure are.
But there are openings still. And I think if you look at the less popular weeks, which is going to be towards the end of July and beginning of August, when people are kind of like doing last minute vacations and beginning of school prep, you're going to find some open sessions then too.
There's going to be some lag weeks for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and another question is, what age should I start sending my kids to summer camp?
Oh, this is so kid dependent. I think you have to know your child. You know, especially if you're considering overnight versus day camp. And so for me, I have twins and they are almost 14, but my son was ready to go to overnight camp in 2nd grade.
Oh, okay, so around 8 years old?
He was like 8, and there was this show, and I can, like, Camp Kikiwaka was like I can sing like the little phrase of it, but he loved that show. And he wanted to do overnight camp. And my daughter was like, nope, not having it. They're the same age, different personalities.
Okay.
And so
she wasn't ready at
She
the
was
same time.
not ready.
Okay.
And so he went. Then she saw what he was doing, and so next year, like the next year, she was like, I'll do it. But you know, I think most kids probably from a day camp standpoint are ready to go in like kindergarten, 1st grade.
Okay.
I mean, they're already attending school, and so they're used to being away from you. And I think a lot of them are ready for those, like kind of, you know, especially if they're short camps, like 2 to 3, 4 hours.
Okay.
I think they can go.
Yeah, maybe start them with the shorter camps and see how it goes.
For sure. I would not throw your kids into like a longer camp, especially when they're like itty bitties. And if they're used to daycare, it might be a little bit of a different situation. But I think a great way to start is with Vacation Bible School. Also because there are so many, they're usually 2 to 3 hours, they're also free or cheap. And so that's kind of a way to ease your way into the summer camp.
Yeah, that's a good point because we will be talking a lot about budget. You do have to plan ahead sometimes. All right, another question. Is my child ready for summer camp, and how do I know if they are?
Oh, did we cover that one? If they're ready for summer camp. I think, you may want to check and make sure that they also, whatever the summer camp requires, like, do they need to be taught potty trained? What do you need to know about, can they open their snacks on their own? Can they open their lunch on their own? Because these aren't teachers, these are counselors, and they may not be as, quite like into, taking care of them.
And some of them are volunteers. So you had mentioned kindergarten. I'm glad we re-asked that again because some of those details are very important. I wouldn't have thought about the snacks thing.
Yeah.
All right. What if my child gets homesick?
No. This is hard because you're always, you're worried about your little babies being away at camp. And I was concerned for my son the camp he goes to is like an hour and a half from us. And so there's nothing I can do really if I get homesick or if he gets homesick. And so we tried to prep, with books, like if you're missing mom, what you can think about. Also, we made sure that the counselors knew who Ryan was and that they knew a little bit about him. And so the camp he goes to, they have a special like homesick room. And so if they get homesick, it's like they go to the nurse, but they can go and they can just like kind of center themselves, and they give them I think they gave them cookies and some additional candy and just let them like chill.
Yeah.
But to also prepare for the homesick, send letters with your kids. And so I send letters for every day of the week for my children, so that way they have something to look forward to. They know mama is
a reminder.
Yeah, and they know mama's thinking about them. And then I think it's a rite of passage. So they might miss you, but they're really having such a good time.
They will be okay. Yeah. Now, I just thought of a question on the fly, so hopefully this doesn't throw you off. No. But one of the things I encountered last year, I don't mind. My son is 8 years old, and I don't mind my child. Of course, we all miss them, but I'm excited for him to go and grow and meet new kids and experience new things. But I didn't know the counselors. So with your experience in doing all of your expertise and research, how are all the counselors background checked, or how do we know who these people are and feel comfortable dropping our children off at these locations with strangers?
Yeah, it's a big deal. And that's where I think your research with the camp comes into play. So you are looking for camps that are American, camp accredited. They'll typically have a stamp on their website.
Oh, okay.
And you can go Google. It's a voluntary thing. Camps don't have to do it, but it shows that they are taking the initiative. There's 8 different steps that they have to go through to make sure that they can have this accreditation. So then, and that does require background checks and all of that. I think you really have to, talk to other parents, find out where their kids are going to camp, and ask the camp themselves. Look at their about section. What are they doing for their counselors? Like, how are they finding these people? How are they recruiting them? The camps we've always looked at, it is so highly competitive to even be a counselor.
That's
and
good
so
to know.
If it's competitive to be a counselor, you're getting like the top of the top. And so, yeah.
All right, we do want to have a reminder real quick that we're going to be taking your questions live this morning. So all you have to do is text us. The number should be on your screen there, 713-526-1111. Once again, 713-526-1111, and just keep them coming. All right, we're going to get into the financial questions now. What are the options for lower income families?
So I think this is where you have to look at the city of Houston. They have a great Parks and Rec department, and they have, I think this year, 52, 53 locations where they are running, I don't think they're free, but they aren't as expensive as the other. They're more affordable options. And a lot, so there's some programs running out of Title I schools. If you are lower income, I would talk to your counselor today, because a lot of schools are wrapping up. Ask them what programs they know of that are in your general vicinity in your area. Because a lot of times the counselors kind of know what's going on for the summer. They know the kids need to have a place to go sometimes, and that, not every camp is accessible for every family. And so I would start there.
Good knowledge. All right. Do camps have scholarships? That's a great question.
They do. A lot of camps do have merit-based scholarships, and then they have scholarships based on income. Some of this, though, is that you kind of had to plan for it a little bit earlier.
Well, no, for next year, though. This is good stuff. This is good stuff
for
to
next year, you want to start looking into that. Probably December, January, if you think that your child is going to go to camp. There are a lot of camps, even for the camp that we do, we donate like an additional $5 a month that goes towards their scholarship fund.
Oh, wonderful.
Because you want other kids to be able to experience what your kids are experiencing.
Money should not be a reason that a child can't have a great summer and learn new things and meet new kids. That is so important.
Oh, for sure. And so, plenty of programs out there. I think you just need to identify what kind of camp you want to do, whether it's a day camp or an overnight camp, and then start looking at their websites to see what you need to do to apply for a scholarship.
Okay, good info. Okay, this one, we were kind of talking about this off camera, so this one might require some additional research, but is there a Klarna type option for families, a go now, pay later?
I think this comes into budgeting. I'm not wholly familiar with, that particular type of option. I mean, I think for most camps, you've either paid for it, kind of throughout the year. We start paying as soon as we pick our kid back up, we're starting to get monthly payments so that when we send them for next year, it's paid up. So I'm not totally confident on saying whether that's available or not.
That's okay. Yeah. That one will require. That's a new question, like a 2024. This buy now, pay later type thing, especially with all kinds of different items. That's a very creative question, and we'll look further into that. But right now, that might require a little bit more Googling. All right. Do you think summer camps are worth the investment?
Oh my goodness, yes. I think, what a benefit it is for our children to kind of be out of the norm. They have worked so hard throughout the school year. And like my kids, they're finishing 7th grade today. I want them to have a great summer. I also want them to meet other people that are not in our hood and who have, they've hung with all year. I want them to have, experiences outside. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to try new things. If your kid,
some people still have to work.
Yeah.
So it's better than just having a babysitter at your house too, because you're learning and they're around other kids.
Yeah, and so they get to, like if they've had an interest in coding or, whatever, and you haven't had the time during the school year to go and do it, go to a week-long camp for coding and see if that's something that's, their jam.
I think some adults would be interested in camps like that too for coding.
Listen, I'm interested in a sleep camp.
Seriously.
Can we do
that? More than a sleep study.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You mentioned you had twins, but a lot of people out there who are watching have multiple children. Do you think it's beneficial to have your children at the same camp if their interests are different, or do you send one child to this camp and another child to this camp and have them grow separately?
I think that's such a hard decision because I as a mom wanted to have some time to myself for, for the time that they were at camp. Like, I needed it to benefit me, too. I mean, that sounds selfish, but if you're a mom out there,
it makes you a better parent.
I needed 2 hours, 3 hours to myself. And so I always sent mine to the same ones, and for the most part when they were younger. You have to decide if you want to be driving around town and dropping off, and pickup times are different and all of that. If you can make it work logistically and it doesn't drain you, then I say go for it. If it makes sense, and there's a lot of camps that, they're going to have different focuses, like the Kid Venture one that we talked about earlier.
A lot of different things.
They have a lot of different focuses, so you could potentially have your kids at the same place, but they're doing different programs.
Yeah, and listen to your kids too. And the reason why I thought of that question is I remember, and my mom, bless her heart, she was just throwing everything at the wall, trying to see what we liked. But my sister already liked tennis camp, so she took me to tennis camp, and I hated it. So then Stephanie went to dance camp. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you can make it work, or do you find the benefit, just try something new.
Yeah.
All right, next question here. How do I go about using FSA, flexible spending account, to pay for camps? What qualifies and what doesn't qualify?
Okay, so we should be clear that I'm not a tax advisor, right?
Oh, you're not? Okay, see, that's why I had you on, Megan. I thought you were.
So I'm not a CPA, I'm not a tax advisor. From my very, the research that I did, it really depends on the type of FSA or HSA that you have. And it needs to most likely be qualified as a dependent care FSA to see if you can write that off. And it depends on the type of camp. It cannot be an overnight camp. And it typically has to be a day camp that's kind of like childcare,
oriented.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's some different things. I would say if you have any questions about that, you need to call your HR department, whoever is issuing your FSA account, so you don't, write off something that you shouldn't be writing off.
Okay, that one may require a little more research too.
I think you need to talk to your HR and see, and maybe the camp can be helpful too if they've had other parents who have used the FSA.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question for the parent who wrote in about that. Thank you so much, because I don't think a lot of people knew you could even use your FSA.
I didn't. I just used mine at CVS.
That's fantastic. Hey, you know what? We're learning on the fly here as well. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so next question here. How can we as parents make sure that the camp is inclusive and accommodating to all children with special needs or dietary restrictions?
So, this is really a hot button, especially in the last handful of years. With so many kids that have, allergens and what have you, camps are getting really good at this and being able to keep your child safe. But again, that's something you need to talk to the camp about initially. And you fill out all that paperwork. Take that paperwork seriously. So my daughter has a heart condition. And so anytime we send her to camp, even though she's doing fine and she's not on medication, no restrictions, I write a novel. Here's what is happening with my kid, and she's older now, she can advocate for herself a little bit better. But when she was younger, I wanted them to know everything there was to know about Quinn Clanahan, right? And so I think it's a communication that comes down to the camp, and then you need to make sure that the director of the camp has talked to the counselor specifically so they know what's going on with your kids. Now, and if there's if maybe there's special needs, disabilities, whatnot, there are some camps out there that have special needs camps. That they
children
are
in wheelchairs or visually impaired children.
Right, and they cater specifically to them, and specially trained and all of that. But the camps are out there. You have to look a little bit. But there's even camps for kids who have severe peanut allergies, so they can go away to overnight camp, and the parents don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Because I know, it's a big fear.
It is,
for sure.
And the counselors themselves may not have children and may not know immediately.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's good. All right, next question here. How do I best prepare my kids for overnight sleepaway camps? You in particular are a pro at this.
Yeah.
You have a checklist on your website.
We do, and we have also an overnight packing list. And so overnight camp packing list, we also have one for day camps too that is up there. But because once, like we said in the thing, once they're away, you really can't like get to the kids again. Like once
It's
you
a good
drop
and a
them
bad
off,
thing, folks, okay?
I mean, there's some freedom there. where
Don't
you're
forget the
just
undies, okay?
But, you know, there are certain things that you want to make sure that so do your homework.
Yeah.
Download the checklist from your camp specifically, or if they don't have one, grab ours. And at least get the logistics done. Then you can kind of go into the emotional part of it.
Let me ask you this. What's the most forgotten item when it comes to sleepaway camps? Especially for parents who are doing this for the first time.
No, you know, I think theme nights.
Yeah.
They have, a lot of these overnight camps have really fun theme nights, and they'll be like missing an article of clothing, and then, you know, like, if it's Hawaiian night and you don't have your Hawaiian shirt, you know, so pay attention to things like that.
But they tell you in advance. They don't just bring it on.
No. All that's up there.
You don't want to be the only kid who doesn't have the Hawaiian shirt or things
right.
like that.
I mean, so pay special attention to those. I think packing enough like underwear and socks.
I told you. See, I said that just a few minutes ago.
I would double whatever they say. I would double it because it's hot, y'all.
And they do different activities, and sometimes they're swimming.
They're going from the pool
multiple times a
then
day.
Outside, and then they're inside, and no, I mean, and there was 1 week it like rained the whole time they were there, and you just want to make sure that you have enough of the undergarments.
Pack like a woman for the kids too. Okay,
Yes.
we pack for every season, even in the summer.
Pack like your 3-day trip is like a 12-day trip.
You got it,
right?
Yeah, you can't be too sure. Okay, all right. What are the benefits of day camps versus overnight camps, and how do I decide which is best for my child?
Oh, this is so much just knowing your kiddo. And, you know, like I said, my son wanted to go to overnight camp. He dies to go to overnight camp every year. My daughter went once, and she was a one and done. She did not want to be away that long. She likes her own personal space.
Yeah.
Some may say it's a little princessy.
You have to try it, and then if they don't like it,
and she just it wasn't for her. A day camp is much more her style, and she just preferred that. She wanted to come home at the end of the evening, and so I think you need to know: can your kid take a lot of stimulation for 7 days? Can they really be away from you for 7 days or 6 days, whatever it may be? You know, for day camp, if you have kids that are a little bit clingier, in the best way clingy, then day camp is probably going to be your better
That's the best
option.
route. Maybe try that first.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, yeah. I wouldn't go from like preschool right into overnight
0
camp,
to 50.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would probably try to stagger that a little bit.
Smart. All right, we just got this via text. Okay, earlier you mentioned VBS, Vacation Bible School. This person wants to know, what if I don't belong to a church? Can I still send my child to VBS? That's a great question.
Such a good question. And the answer is yes, almost equivocally yes. Vacation Bible schools are put on by churches, and they do it as a ministry. And so then, you know, thus a lot of them are free or low cost. They're not going to be your all-day childcare. They're typically going to be 2 to 3 hours for 4 to 5 days during the week. But I will tell you, and no, you don't have to be a member. We were VBS hoppers when my kids.
Oh, you hopped. Okay.
I mean, take advantage. Like when my kids were young and I needed that, you know, couple hour break, we hit up all the local churches in our area,
and then they can meet new kids.
Yeah, map it out, and we also have a huge VBS list on our website, right on there, so you can go find it.
Tell your website again.
It's at just HoustonMom.com, and if you go, it's like right on the home screen. It'll say VBS, and it's separated geographically. So north, south, east, west, we got you covered.
And I will tell that viewer too, I actually did VBS for my son 2 summers ago. We were not part of that particular church, but I heard it was the best one in town. I got in through a friend who was a member, okay? But those fill up very fast, so you want to hop around and make sure, because I think I had to sign Dash up for that. I did get in. He loved it. Yeah. And it was much lower cost, but I think everything was full by March. So that's just a side note on that. Some of them fill up, you know, some of the larger churches, they fill up pretty quickly.
But there's some, I'm still getting requests to be added to the list. But they still have openings. Yeah. And just like 2 or 3 this week. So
make calls immediately on that. Okay.
Yeah, I would hop over to that.
All right, next question here. How can I assess the safety and supervision standards of a potential camp? We talked about the counselors earlier being background checked and kind of the process to go through that.
Yeah, I think the accreditation, knowing if they're accredited. I think if you are sending them to camp, that perhaps they, run a daycare. They're probably accredited and approved and all of that. I would look to see, again, the background checks. What are they doing? And then maybe see if you can observe a camp. Or,
that's a good idea.
If they, I don't know, if they don't let you do that, it might be a privacy issue, but I think this is where talking to people and really finding out like what your friends or your hive mind groups on Facebook, your community groups, if you see any red flags, or if somebody is saying, talking about something, that's probably not the camp you want to go to.
What are some of the red flags you've heard of that maybe we should watch out for?
Just probably counselors not paying attention to your child, not listening to, maybe instructions that you've given them. If you're not getting callbacks from the camp, that would be a red flag to me. If you're not getting feedback from your counselors, then I think that would also be really important. We've always sent them to camps that we got feedback at the end of the day, whether it was just like a quick note that said like, hey, Quinn loved going down the water slide, and here's where she's succeeded and here's where we had a little trouble. But we got kind of like a report card at the end of each day. And so that we knew, especially when they were like younger and they couldn't verbalize everything much, that we kind of knew how their day went. And
you could see the pattern too as the weeks progressed.
Yeah.
All right, what are the signs of a high quality camp program?
So I think that's one, is the feedback, just knowing that your child, is known and that you know exactly what is going on with them during the day. I think you can look at websites and tell pretty quickly if this is, how
legit.
It's organized, and I think you kind of get like that, gut feeling. So we don't want any of the fly-by-night camps,
Fly-by-night?
Like, just like camp, camps that come in and like settle and then they're out. Like, I prefer ones that have, been here in the area for a while, established.
On that note, so if you're just joining us earlier, we showed you a story about Megan's top choices for camps here, particularly in Harris County. So for people just tuning in, what are some of the recommendations, like 5 stars year after year all around?
Yeah, so I would go, I think Kid Venture is a great one. They are celebrating, I think, 50 this year, 50th year of serving the Houston, Austin, and Dallas area. So they're super well established. I don't think you can go wrong there.
Wow, so the parents may have gone to that camp, and then how fun they could be sending
it'd be
their
like
own
a legacy.
There.
Yeah,
it's a legacy
legacy
camp.
camp.
How sweet. That's like tradition.
It's so fun. And so I love that. I love Rice for camps too. I think, if they have everything from, they have a great basketball camp we love, to arts and science and the STEM camps. And how cool is it for your kid to be like on college campus, right? Like,
love that.
They can kind of like aspire. U of H has some great camps. Of course, the YMCAs in Harris County are all, really good at running camps. That's what they do.
Yeah, that's their
jam. Yeah.
All right. Ideally, when should I start looking at summer camps in the future?
Oh, People are going to love me for this, but you're January, February.
Pardon me, I'm going to take a drink.
Yeah. So January and February, you really want to start doing your search. We put out our huge camp guide every February, like February 15th. If we don't have it out by then, it's late. And so you really want to start narrowing it down. All of the camps like Houston, the zoo camp, Arboretum, all of those are totally full now. And they open them up to members only. Usually, I want to say for most of them, January, February, if you're a member, and then they'll have kind of like an open enrollment in the March timeframe. So for those highly popular, desirable camps, you want to start super early. For those really busy overnight camps, like the weeks that would be the most popular are going to be the first part of June, first and second, third week of June. And so you want to book those probably in the fall prior to going. I know, but then that helps with the budgeting too.
But here, don't freak out. Like I said, my son Dash is 8 years old. I have not signed him up for camp this year because we're trying to go in a different direction. So I'm looking into skateboard camps. You know, we have a great skate park just north of Buffalo Bayou, so we're looking into that, and spots are still available. So don't be sad if the other ones are full. There's a ton out there.
There's so many great specialized camps that still have openings, and you know, lest anyone feel bad, I only have my kids scheduled to like the third week of June, and then after that, I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure. We do our best, but you know, looking at that calendar sometimes, I'm like,
it can get overwhelming.
I don't even want to look at it.
Hey, we just got a new text question in. All right, how can we prepare financially now for next summer? What would you say to that?
So I would start saving, like in budgeting what you want to do. So if you know it's an overnight camp that your child wants to go to, those are not cheap. And it seems ridiculous, but when we pull away from overnight camp, those payments start. And it makes it so nice to know that when we pull up to camp the next year, that we're done paying for it, because there are extraneous expenses that come with sending your kids to camp. I mean, you may need to get a new trunk. Those theme outfits add up. Like you need a new pair of swim goggles or whatever it may be. And so, you know, I would say think about the type of camp you want to go to, how many weeks you want to send them, and then just if they don't have an auto save plan for you, you need to start auto saving yourself, because otherwise you can almost bankrupt yourself sending
it'll hit
children to camp. I mean, it's not cheap.
It's a great question. It's a lot of planning ahead, but it's important for the kids. So us as parents willing to do that, and we want to do that for them. Okay, so we covered overnight checklist, the best camps in Harris County, pretty much everything, budgets, anything we missed here that would be very useful for parents to know right now.
You know, I think just think outside the box when it comes to camps for your kids. So I think I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's such a great opportunity for them to try something new. If in a less competitive environment. So, you know, our kids go to a very competitive school, and, you know, you feel like if you haven't, you know, touched a soccer ball, you really can't go jump in and do it. But if you go to a soccer camp, you can.
Yeah.
And you can go and try something new. They can see if they like it, and then you can see if it's something that you want to invest in, you know, going before you pay for a full season. So if your kid has, like you, like if you've said like, hey, like, I'll go to the tennis camp, but then you hated it, well, at least you didn't pay for, your parents didn't pay for like 8 weeks of lessons for tennis camp.
Yeah, I was glad I was exposed to it, and I knew real quick.
And then you knew,
that's not for me.
Yeah, so listen to your kids. And then, I would say the other big thing is camp is like an overwhelming experience sometimes. It's a lot of stimulation. It's more than school, because everything you're doing there is fun, right? Like, or the idea of it is fun. you really need to just kind of leave them alone when they come home from camp. Like, you don't want to bombard them with a lot of questions.
What'd you do today? How was it?
How was it? Tell me all the
friends?
things. Like, you know, who did you play with? Da, da, da.
They're tired.
They're tired, and their brains are tired, and their bodies are tired. They've been stimulated, and so give them a beat. You know, and that was the biggest piece of advice our summer camp gave us for our overnight camp was, you know, we have an hour and a half drive back to the city from overnight, and like, we only talk to the boy if he wants to talk to us. You know what I mean? And we don't ask him a ton of questions. And then, you know, throughout the next week, you'll kind of start to
pull it out of him.
Yeah, you'll start to get more. But don't, you know, just kind of let them chillax, like live in their experience, and celebrate all the new things that they're doing.
I love that. Such great insight. You are a wealth of knowledge. You helped a lot of parents out there, and you're going to be responsible for those kids having a lot of fun because now the parents know about all these different camps.
It's a great season.
Yes.
Summer.
Megan Clanahan, co-owner of Houston Moms, thank you once again for joining us.
Absolutely.
And if you missed any part of this, you can see it again right here on KHOU 11 Plus and also on KHOU.com. For now, I'm Stephanie Simmons. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.